We're just coming in. We did a whole community check-in and turning our attention towards this moon right now, and really the power of how we gather as a community, as groups of friends in the path, how we can create oracle together. Super fun, super generative. So, you know, come on in. Come hang out with us. So it's a full moon. The moment that we're recording this is after the full moon is exact, and it's in the Tithi, this measurement of moon phases now, kind of sub phases, that is perfect for endings. So we might think like, what do we need to clear the path? What's incubating in the wintertime season? What's needed? What's right in front of you that's like, no, I'm ready to leave you. I'm ready to to release this. I'm ready to let go of. I'm ready to clear out. So it's like the harvest has come in. The field is nice and tidy. We've planted the winter crop. The wind is starting to blow. The leaves are beautiful, but they're swirling around. The wind is kicking up. And we're starting to think now about, not even just think, but really start acting on setting up this cozy wintertime nest. This moon is in a place called Bharani Nakshatra, a place I am very familiar with. I have both my sun and my moon in Bharani, and the symbol of this lunar mansion, this lunar home, is a yoni. The deity associated with this moon is Yama, the Lord of Death. But death is not one-sided, right? Like, just think about a yoni, a vagina, right? A womb, and the Lord of Death. Whatever could these two be talking about? Yes, birth and death, cycles of regeneration. So now is the season of regeneration. We've been setting it up. We just passed the apex of the ancestor portal, and now it is time for the deepest of the deep alchemy of the whole year. And that's the season of rejuvenation. And so when we think about the archetype of the great goddess Kebele. So I'm reaching out today from Izmir, Turkey. I'm in Anatolia. I'm on the coast. I'm looking at wooded mountains in one direction and the Aegean Sea in the other. It's a coastal place, so it's kind of easy going. And what was here historically were Neolithic settlements. And the goddess Kebele was one of the goddesses worshipped then, kind of like a main character. There's also another goddess that's triple-faced or triple-bodied, who will come into the Greek pantheon as Hecate. She's originally from here, Anatolia, and she's all about liminality, threshold spaces, the threshold between birth and death. If you have either given birth, attended a birth, or been birthed yourself, which you have, then you have all lived through the experience of maybe you'll be birthed, maybe you won't. Modern medicine has very much disrupted cycles of mortality, thankfully, I think, in terms of birth isn't guaranteed. A harrowing experience. The initiation into the oxygenated world, and we come into this season of spring, but there will be seasons where we are supposed to revisit cycles of death and regeneration. And that's this annual visit to the underworld. So Hecate, whatever her name was before it was Hecate, this triple goddess. Inanna, Ishtar, the Sumerians, the Babylonians, Kabele, the Anatolians, Kababa, also the Sumerians. Sometimes we see these goddesses in a very like fertility form. Ah, they're luscious, they're round. Maybe they're literally like holding some kind of food, you know? Or they are on either side, there are animals with them. So that's all talking to us about this, fertility piece. And in their rituals and in their storytelling will be this moment after the harvest where often somebody dies, right? It's in the cumulative storytelling, it's often the goddess's son consort dies, meaning the end of the growing season. And then there's the nutrification of this body returning to earth. And then there's grief, there's sorrow, key indicators for this season. And then there's resurrection. Often the goddess going to the underworld to retrieve this beloved son consort. Why is it a son? Why is it not like a husband or like this? Because he's the fruit of her womb. She is non-binary. She's her own package like this. So where do we get da, 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 virgin birth, spontaneous birth? It's way down the storytelling timeline. When we go back up the storytelling timeline, where we are is self-generative. But that would be her in spring. Right now is the goddess knocking on the door of winter, late autumn into early winter, death and rejuvenation. This. So ritually, later down the line, Demeter, the illusion mysteries, these mysterious, secretive rituals that were done at this time of year that embody the harvest and the death and rejuvenation, the Persephone returning to the underworld, way down the timeline. Earlier, Hecate. Earlier, Kebele, Kababa, Inanna, Ishtar. And these are ones we know their names. Who knows what's even older than this? Where I think from Africa, what the ancient ancestors carried with them from the diasporas 120,000 years ago. This is what I've been tripping on lately, y'all. I'm so deep down this rabbit hole. I'm in doctoral program right now, so I got like the courses that I do for doctoral program that are amazing. And then I've got this self-styled semester that I'm doing, and I keep adding books and resources and this and that. It's just, I'm with the bees, I'm with the Melissae, I'm creating my own offerings and rituals right now based on these like ancient rites. I'm going to these places on the land and like seeping in this like rematriation pilgrimage. I started forming an essay in my mind of like, follow up to the first rematriation essay of like how we do this pilgrimage thing through the seasons. And then this wintertime pilgrimage is the pilgrimage into the underworld, into the rest, the rejuvenation, the creative resourcing that has its polarity in the yang season. In summer, when we want all the creative expression, it doesn't mean that winter is like, nope, no creative expression here. No, it's just a different flavor. It's like a different vibe about it. So that's what Yama and the Yoni are beckoning in through their symbolism at this moon is feel free to let go of all the things that are ready to let go of the seasonal aspects that don't serve you, the systems that don't serve you. This is sidereal Aries. Where is that in your chart? Which house? That's what's going to get lit up for you. Like for me, it's my 12th house. But oh, how difficult. I have a sun and a moon. So an exalted sun in Aries in the 12th house. I'm starting to think whatever work I do in this life, I will get the recognition once I have died. It means that my life is so much easier when I'm in foreign lands. It means I learn so much through loss, and I've experienced a lot of loss. Not like great and terrible loss, but like very consistent loss in my life, like this. It means that I'm insanely gifted when it comes to the intuitive, the Akashic, other realms, other dimensions, the ancestors, like this. Like I can go in and retrieve information that other people cannot. Like this, I have access to all these things. Not as practical in the capitalist economy. However, with the power of Saturn, and long-term planning and centering in service and the downtrodden classes of which, frankly speaking, I'm mainly an economic part of, education-wise, higher class, economically, it's a lower class, but I'm figuring it out. And you'll see that in like the next offerings that I'm going to give and how I'm building this school and figuring out how I can honor my spiritual calling, this like 12th house, that has a lot of fiery power. Exalted sun Aries. Just I use myself as an example, in terms of how these things work. Like you might think, oh no, that's like a curse, kind of thing. That's not a good placement, but it's how you work it. It's how you understand it within you and your life and how it expresses. If we look to the spiritual interpretation of anything that shows up in one's personal chart as seemingly difficult or cursed or bad, if you take the spiritual interpretation of it, what it's presenting to you, you will win. But you're gonna have to pray hard. You know? You got to figure out who your team is. You got to get those protectors, those guardians, those navies, those but benevolent forces that bless you and walk with you. Got to get them lined up. And there's your ritual. There's how you juice yourself, and it's all play. It's all creative play. It's interplay if you want it to be. This isn't top-down dogmatic religion. This is deep inherent to the indigeneity that lives within you as indigenous to the earth. This is deep to your being, and it is your birthright. This. And so we have to, it's a time for new technologies, and I believe some of those are spiritual technologies as well. So without our health and vitality, without our rest, all is lost. Like there won't be this future. Today I woke up, I saw the election news from the States. And intellectually, mentally, yeah, I felt pleasant. I felt pleasured, by those outcomes like this. But when I tapped into the collective, it's these spirits, they're just singing. They're singing and singing and singing and singing and singing, and they would not stop singing Mamdani. And I was just like, you guys, From when I woke up and several hours later, what's the deal? You know, I'm like, what are you so hyped about? Honestly, you better protect that man, you know? And what are you so hyped about? And they said, we're hype about what the humans did. They found their hope. They participated in their democracy. They are starting to understand that a decentralization of federal or the state, meaning at the federal or the national level, a decentralization of the federal or the state power is our future. And that is actually what the Republicans who are in power want. Somehow in their fakakta logic, they think that that's what's going to earn them the most money. That if they gut the government, reallocate funds that used to do things like arts, education, healthcare, food, culture, history, museums, parks, environment, and so if they gut as much of that as possible and then redirect funds, they say to address the growing debt that is in the insanity trillions. Um, I'll believe that when I see that. What that will inspire is then all those systems that I just named, they will have to be pushed down to the state level. And that's going to inspire innovation. I don't think they actually know what they're doing. The campaigns of terror. What we're seeing right now is in select communities, little uplifting wins. This happened this past week in my hometown community of Evanston, Illinois, which has been particularly targeted by ICE raids. Very aggressive. And how the community is organizing, how the community is showing up, how they are designing and creating systems. They decided that they're not going to wait for the food assistance benefits happening or not happening. They did a food drive. And they did not expect the food drive to turn out in the way that it did. Now, critical thought bubble, in an affluent community, it's really easy to organize people around charity. It makes people feel like they're doing something, they're contributing, they're not, inept. Here's something that they can do. And so we need to champion these things, even though they are flawed. They're not solving long term, but these little wins, these little positive things can start to form constellations that can galvanize in more directions. It's fractal epistemology. Small engagement can lead to revolutionary level change. The other thing that these spirits that I was talking to about Mumdani, it's his age. It's the vitality. It's the image. His religion matters also, not in the ways that any discourses are in America about Islam are talking about. This is something futuristic. This is something global. Yeah, Mamdani gives Obama vibes, because he's a global citizen. It's something that resonates. And New York City, like, travel the world and talk to people. They will all say, we want to go to America. Where do you want to go? New York City. Always. It's either New York City or Disney. Sometimes it's LA and then rando Grand Canyon. Like it's always like that order, kind of like our biggest, thing. It's always New York City. If you talk to a European person, it's always New York City that they want to go to. New York City is an enigma. So I don't know which chess piece to align New York City with on the game board, but the other team wanted it real bad and they didn't get it. you know, but something valuable, like a bishop or a knight, something that can move real well and cause super damage on the board. Like, oh, New York City is a high visibility token, you know. But I had to tell these spirits to please stop singing in my ear because like all day long, I'm like, Mom, not anymore. I'm like, you guys, seriously, what's the deal? Let me just check in with you so I can share this message so you can get out here in this recording so that these other people can know this. So take homes on that. You must participate in your democracy. You must on all the levels, and local will become increasingly important. They can weaponize the federal level, and they are. Supreme Court, the Congress, Department of Justice, the cabinet, the whole executive branch that's fucking Gotham City, like it was rough. Super rough. And that's not going anywhere. That's not going to shift. They've got their agenda and they're very well organized and very well funded like this. But we are going to see some pretty radical changes at local and state levels over the next couple of years. Absolutely. So let me try to rewind back to this moon. This is the first moon in a while that we have not had those outer planets playing in. It's just the moon in Bharani, the sun in Libra. I gotta look up the nakshatra the sun is in. Sun is debilitated in Libra. It's either Chaitra or Swati, one of those two. Sun is debilitated. The sun's not strong right now, but Venus is there in own sign. So Venus is that lounging empress, like, I am home, in her palace. And then like moon is up there, across, and everybody's resonating in Bharani, and so, there is sacred femme moon juicy energy available right now. Like we are, yes, Venus, but the moon itself is in Aries. This. So, couple other things that are happening right now. What other planets are at play in this moon? So, we've been talking about Mercury and Mars because they're doing this lockstep thing. When Mercury and Mars come together, it's called earthquake yoga. It gives possible like upheaval event. And we're still in this portal. We just passed the exact conjunction of Mars in Scorpio. So Mercury and Mars have moved on to sidereal Scorpio. And across from them in Taurus is Uranus. Revolution, sudden change, sparks of creativity. Yo, Uranus is sitting on my head And it will be for its whole 7 year transit. It's crazy out here in these streets, y'all. That like that rush, the creative ideas that flooded in this week. I said, I gotta get in here and get these exact degrees. I need to know like my exact window of this amazingness. And like it burnt me out though. By day 3 of the like heat, I got burnt out and I went into fatigue. And I was just like, well, if you're gonna continue to have fun, like you're gonna need to take rest because or else you're gonna get the migraine. It's gonna amp up, you know. Actually, already I had one day of migraine, and that was when I was like, ruh-roh. No. So, and migraine is not my thing. It's a perimenopausal thing. Yay. You know, so I got that magnesium malate out, I got CBD gummies out. I got like, let's tone it down. Got the Melissa out, the lemon balm. Yes, we got our methods these days. So Mercury and Mars have been doing this lockstep thing, and it's a bit much. And then Mars went align conjunct with Uranus. That's can wreak some havoc depending on how that shows up in your chart. I told you earlier, I go for the spiritual interpretation of everything. So I like, wee. um, that's until about November 12th. But Mars and Mercury are still doing their thing. November 9th, Mercury goes retrograde for 3 weeks. And Mercury will traverse, so Mercury will pull a little bit away from Mars. And Mars is happy because Mars is in its own sign of Scorpio. So Mars is like strong, real strong. Mercury's gonna retrograde. We get 3 weeks of that. So guard your data, transportation, leave a little earlier, classic Mercury retrograde things. Watch your technology, back up your stuff. If something goes haywire, just wait till the retrograde ends. Sometimes the electronic starts working again. You know, Mercury's going to go back over the degrees that it passed through Scorpio. It's going to go back into Libra, and it's going to have a little planetary scuffle with Venus while it's in there. It just means like it gets a little tight, it's not flowing as much, and Venus will win the war. So there's some little skirmishes. November 11th to the 13th, Mars Mercury planetary war, and then it'll be later. It's not until the 23rd of November that Mercury makes it into Libra. November 24, 25, we get the Venus Mercury skirmish. So just in time for your Turkey Day. The other big news on the block is Jupiter. So Jupiter has been in exaltation just for a little bit of time in sidereal Cancer, giving you basically a taste of what will happen come May 2026 when Jupiter transits into sidereal Cancer. So Jupiter, big, important, benefic, often saves the day, planet of dharma, of philosophy, of learning, of knowledge, in its point of exaltation, its sign of exaltation. That's given you a flavor, that's given you a taste of something, but you only get it until November, not until November 11th. November 11th starts station retrograde, and we get a little bit more time in retrogression of Jupiter in Cancer, and then we'll go back into Gemini. Thus, so that's something to look up in your chart to see like what's getting activated there. And then we always look at trines, these like triangle shapes that get made, things of points of activation in the chart. So heads up on that Mercury retrograde. And we're gonna get a little like November 18, 19, Mercury opposite Uranus. I don't know. I'm here for all this Uranus business. Um, and we'll get to visit, after the next moon, what's happening later in the month. Venus will head into Scorpio, and later in the month, November 27, Saturn goes direct. That's going to be a big flavor change also. Saturn is in retrograde for several months. November 29th, Mercury goes direct in Libra. So we've got this month to enjoy and explore, debilitated sun. By mid-month, it's no longer debilitated. Um, Venus, happy as a clam. Mercury retrograding, heads up. Mars, super strong. Jupiter, loving life in Cancer. And Saturn. And then by the end of the month, we're going to get some kind of significant flavor changes. Saturn going direct. Mercury going direct. Sun will have shifted sign. And we're all the way at November 30th. A next new moon. So where does that leave us? Like, what then is the essence? I know some of this, and this is not my area of expertise, has to do with some pending shifts that are economic. At the same time, the market looks really, really strong right now. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Some of this stuff has been kind of forecast around the real estate market, but we'll have to just see what happens with this. We need to see what happens with food supply. One of the things that people don't take into account about SNAP or, food assistance is how that affects the supply chain. If you're not flooding the market with all of the monies that get spent at the grocery store, that has a huge impact on grocery stores and supply chain. So, I don't want to be a party pooper today. I want us to enjoy the upliftment while we have it. This little upswing of like how communities can organize, how communities can participate in their democracies, why our local is increasingly important, the changes that we're going to see over the next few years in terms of localized state level and state consortiums. We're going to see all sorts of innovations happening. And so I feel like part of this message really is to like continue to invest in your best health, your best vitality, but also like the best version of you. You're still in this exploration of life design, harmonizing, and purpose. It just sucks how much purpose has been co-opted by the corporate coaching consortium. Purpose is very important. But this is your purpose beyond the capitalist imperialist agenda. No, your actual purpose for being, your gifts, your offerings, your value add, how you can be in service of others, of self, of family, of community, of state, not the big state. I think we're gonna have to like bring it down into like meaning region, but to the whole collective and to the interconnected collective of life. This. So I want to read to you just a little bit about Bharani. See if we can't distill just a little bit more about this moon placement itself. So Aries is ruled by Mars, and the asterism is ruled by Venus. That's why I'm like, it's so Venusian, but it's in Aries, but it's so Venusian. Because it is. Um, mhm. So we're talking about feminine creative energy, right? And the cosmic feminine force. So this is a very watery place, very yin, very cosmic, watery. This is an auspicious or blessed place because this is a life-giving place. So these are life-giving waters. These are the kind of waters that are offered to images of the divine. They express devotion. Yama, the god of death, can be interpreted in two ways. One is the meaning of the deity itself. Yama refers to various yogic practices, disciplines, and observances. It's not so much that one. It's this one. Yama refers to the means which enable new life forces to permeate the physical form. Something birthed today. Something birthed in this moon. It's exciting. That's what we're feeling. It's palpable. When the old form becomes decrepit and unable to manifest the soul further, the god of death, Yama, enables us to detach from the old form to assume a new one. In this sense, Yama is the deity providing suitable channels for a more efficient flow of life energy. This should be our mantra or our sankalpa for the winter. We're just looking for a more efficient flow of the life energy. Like that's the design goal. The central purpose of yogic practices like breath control or observances of truthfulness and nonviolence, satyagraha, and asteya, is to cleanse the physical form of being so that the spiritual forces can flow freely into it. These yogic practices are similar to the rejuvenating processes occurring at the time of death. Death is a rejuvenation process. The difference is that in yoga, the process is assumed voluntarily, while at death, it occurs involuntarily. Botany, therefore, indicates the passive potentiality capable of providing the essential environment where the different kinds of life forces can fructify. The yoni is not so much a channel for the satisfaction of personal sex craving as a means for providing nourishment for the future expression of the life force. It is a center of energy where evolutionary and generative processes can fructify and prosper. Botany is the productive zone in Aries where originality and impulsiveness are much in action. Botany provides impetus for new forms of manifestation to concretize or for the actualization of any concept. Psychologically, the attraction which the yoni represents, well, what he's talking about, okay, what women represent to men, something binary here, has an element of the unknown in it. This is more interesting. It's a kind of darkness. This unknown realm of darkness is ruled by Yama, the god of death. It is an unknown aspect behind all creative energy which springs from the deepest layer of being. That is the passive or Shakti principle. Kali. This element is the real fountain of all inspiration which transcends all known laws of logic. In ordinary human beings, the sudden downpour of universal energy is often expressed as human love, which is generally blind. Bharani, not so much rationality as emotion or action under cosmic forces. And I'm just going to pause it there. Hmm. Emotion or action under cosmic forces. Ah, what a lovely little post meal digestiva. Some things to consider about this moon. It's not too complex. Can really just feel into the death, rebirth, and rejuvenation of it all. And so the real quest is, what lovely things do you want to let go of? You got a few more hours in the real time here till about 5 p.m. Pacific time is when that tithi ends on what is today? Today is Wednesday, November 5th. So if you're catching this in, then that's the vibe. So, friends, lovely to always share some moon knowledge with you and be in consideration of these things. This is ancestral technology. This is inherited wisdom technology. I shared with you, I'm so deep down this ancient great goddess rabbit hole, and it's linking in astrology also, and how these concepts evolved, where they evolved from this collage that has become our astrological systems that we know today. And we know that there's even older ones. There's even older ones, but these are the ones that we can reference for now. Sidereal, as well as tropical, which is the later Greek system that will come along. And these are really just methods for enhancing, tools for engaging, and all of this is our alchemical healing, transformative, ancestral wisdom. So I will pause this